Welcome back. This is part 3 of answering your questions, my Q&A answers. This is going to be the epic final chapter, so I want to get through all the questions that were asked and bring it to an end. This ends tonight in this video. So still have quite a few more to go through, so let's get right to it. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I noticed I actually accidentally skipped one of Slacker 101's questions, which I thought was a good question, so we'll go back to that. Slacker 101 writes, name a movie you loved as a kid, but as an adult you thought was garbage. I think that's a good question, because, you know, we always have these nostalgic goggles on, and part of you, when you love something as a kid, going back to it as an adult, you still have this weird instinct to want to, like, you know, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, it's still alright. But one, indisputably, for me, that I watched a while back, rewatched after seeing it as a kid, was this movie called Spaced Invaders. Basically, it's about, like, 3 or 4 aliens, I can't even remember now. These little guys in alien costumes, and I don't know, it was just so stupid. And I remember loving it as a kid. Spaced Invaders, and I was watching it a while back, and I was like, this is like the fucking worst movie I've ever seen. So, yeah, Spaced Invaders, that would be my answer. Nintendo Hard 147 asks, when is the Glengarry Glen Ross review coming? I didn't know I had one coming. I'll give you a mini review now. It's a fucking great movie from David fucking Mamet with great fucking dialogue, great fucking actors, and Jack Lemmon steals the fucking show. There's a lot of swearing in the movie. No, it's a great movie. I don't own it. I should get the DVD or Blu-ray. It's a fantastic fucking movie. Where are we? So, here's more. Maximilian Holstrom writes, and Maximilian Holstrom has been a subscriber for a long time, always has a nice thing to say, a nice comment. Thank you, Maximilian. Is there anything that angers you about the movie world today? And if so, what? The movie industry is what I meant. A couple things. Now having done this like Q&A thing and splitting into parts, it kind of made me think about how Hollywood is always, like, now more than ever, like, splitting movies into parts. Like, this is part 1 of the third part, and part 2 of the, like, you know, like the Hunger Games, Mockingjay part 1, part 2, that annoys me. And I remember, like, first hearing about something like that was actually Kill Bill. And how Kill Bill, I mean, if you put both the volumes together, it's like still only like a 3.5-hour movie, which I think would have been perfectly acceptable. But splitting in half kind of annoyed me. And so I think after doing a bullshit move like that, I think Quentin Tarantino has no right to, like, write the 4th film or the 5th film or the 6th film like Quentin Tarantino on the poster. You know how you see that for some reason, like it's some kind of weird thing. That really pissed me off. I love Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, but the whole bloody affair, give us the whole bloody affair already, for fuck's sake. Anyway, that annoys me. Certain cases it's justified, like, I mean, with something like Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, parts 1 and 2, I mean, the book is gargantuan, so I think that is a particular case where it worked really well, and especially with part 2, the whole movie of Deathly Hallows Part 2 was like all climax, so it was pretty epic and pretty awesome. So, I mean, that I feel is sort of justified, and the intent behind it was to tell the story in the best and most effective way possible, which couldn't be done in condensing into one movie. Other cases, like The Hunger Games, Mockingjay is like 250 pages. There's no fucking reason why it should be 2 movies. One of the most blatant examples of that probably would be The Hobbit, which, you know, you shouldn't complain about having too much of a good thing, but I think we got 3 really good Hobbit movies. I know some people have their problems with it, but I like the Hobbit movies. We have 3 really good Hobbit movies, but I think potentially we could have had one great Hobbit movie. So that's a little disappointing. But, you know, after King Kong, I think Peter Jackson became like so indulgent with like extending. There's King Kong. There's no reason that should have been a 3-hour fucking movie. But I'm getting off the track there. Another thing that annoys me about the movie industry, that angers me, the posters. Remember when movies would have like awesome, epic painted posters that look great, and now we have like this Photoshop shit which looks horrible. I mean, the fact that it has to be the new Star Wars movies, the Force Awakens, that has to remind us that, hey, posters can be really cool and, you know, painted and epic and stuff. That's a problem. Now we have all this Photoshop, you know, floating heads and really just atrocious cover art and posters, which I wouldn't even call it art. There was a time when you can call it art. Like, now it's just in a sad, sad state, and that disappoints me, because I think just as, say, you know, an album cover or something like that, I think it is an extension. The art that advertised, represents it, what have you, is an extension of the art itself, and can be a work of art itself. You think of so many iconic posters, like, just, you know, think about that E.T. poster, you know, from Spielberg, the classic image from the movie, or Jaws, the fucking shark coming up, things like that. I mean, you name it, there's, you know, a great poster for some classic movies, but I think they've lost their way. One of my favorite posters is Halloween, and it's a very simple poster, but it's art, and, you know, you look at it and you see, like, you know, the sections of the pumpkin, and then you see the hand and the knife, and I don't know. It's just disappointing the way posters have just kind of lost their way. So that bothers me, I'd say. And Maximilian Holstrom has another question. By the way, congratulations, man. Keep up the good work. I have one more question, if you don't mind. I do not mind, Maximilian. Who is your favorite film composer? I'd say my favorite film composer, I would say, well, I mean, knee-jerk reactions like John Williams. John Williams pretty much should be everyone's favorite composer. He's just like the obvious answer for that. But if I can go like more personal preference, I'd say Howard Shore, a great composer. Of course, he did, you know, Lord of the Rings, and The Fly is one of my favorite film scores of all. The Cronenberg Fly, of course, one of my favorite film scores. So I think he's a great composer, and a Canadian, and he had a gig on Saturday Night Live for a long time too. So I think he has had an interesting career. But yeah, I really love Howard Shore, and Hans Zimmer, of course. He's done some great scores. One of my all-time favorite scores is Matchstick Men. I just think it's such a great, wacky, unique score. You know, anyway, I love it. So that'd be my answer. Thank you, Max, and thank you for your continued support of the channel. Appreciate it. Furry Flip writes, have you ever seen the classic series of Doctor Who? If you have, what is your favorite? I think I have. I've only seen, I think, 2 episodes of Doctor Who. One of them was a David Tennant, and one of them was the original actor, which, oh my god, I forget the name. It escapes me right now. But like the black and white one. And I remember it was in the year 2012 that I watched it, I think. Because I remember I was staying up all night to hit Best Buy on Boxing Day, which I'll never do again. But I remember, you know, I had watched David Tennant, Doctor Who, and I was like, I like this. This is pretty good. It was one of the Christmas specials. And so I'm like, I'm going to watch more Doctor Who. Well, they don't have the Tennant ones on Canadian Netflix, so I watched one of the older David something. Fuck, I don't remember. But anyway, David Morse, I want to say. No, that's not it. Whatever, I'm not going to dwell on that. But anyway, like, it was an old one, and they go into like a pyramid or something. I can't remember, but yeah, I have watched one episode of the original classic series of Doctor Who, which is pretty good, but, you know, I don't know, Doctor Who I just can't get into. There's just so much there. I don't know. God. But thank you for your question. Naming this channel was difficult asks. I have a few. Do you like the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer? No. I love it. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I loved the movie when I was a kid, too, and then, you know, the TV show came shortly after that. which, I mean, needless to say, the show is a lot better than the movie. The movie is like exactly what you would expect from the title. Like, Valley Girl is a vampire slayer, and it's kind of cheesy and stupid. But Donald Sutherland is pretty good in it. But the show, I think, first two seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, perfection. I would say the first season is my favorite, though maybe not a lot of people agree with that. But I just think it's great. It's like one long movie, really. The whole plot with the Master, and have a few episodic things here and there. Like the swim team on those crazy steroids that turn them into fish, and the dummy and the invisible girl, and the whole Scooby Gang kind of thing, and kind of innocent times. And then the show got like really dramatic. But I love the first season. I think it's fantastic. Second season really great too. Probably like my favorite episode, and I know not a lot of people will agree, is Ted, which is one of the non-vampire episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where John Ritter is playing the boyfriend of her mother, and he's like really strict, and he's like giving Buffy a hard time, and then she accidentally kills him, but it turns out he's a robot. I don't know. I love that, and John Ritter, fucking love John Ritter in that episode. So yes, I do like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think it's a fucking great show. What are your thoughts on The Walking Dead? I like The Walking Dead. I still remember tuning in to the very first episode on Halloween, and that it being just this huge event that they brought kind of the whole zombie mania to TV, which is a really good decision, really good idea. The way the series has kind of grown since then, I think, has been great. And Rick Grimes, I think, continues to be one of the more interesting characters currently on TV. Like, he kind of started off sort of, I don't know, like as this goody-goody, but he's become more of a flawed and type of character who doesn't necessarily always make the best decisions. So, I mean, I think that's kind of interesting. I'm very behind on the show. I think I got halfway through season 5, so there's still not a lot. There's still a lot that I have to get to. But I'll say this: I mean, one rampant complaint about the show is that there's a lot of filler episodes. It kind of drags on, which is absolutely true. And I love to make fun of the show, even though I do like it. But it's like, oh, another episode of Walking Dead where fucking nothing happens. So yeah, but it's a good show. I like it. I think it's a. I'll catch up sooner or later, and I think it's a fine show. Do you remember a show called Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction? Yes, I absolutely do. I remember. I used to watch this show a lot. Basically, for those who don't know, it was a show where I think they had either 3 or 5 segments in the show where they'd show this scenario and be some amazing thing, and they'd be like, do you think this is fact, or do you think this is fiction? We will reveal at the end of the show. And so it was kind of fun to watch with your friends or family. Be like, I think that's real. I think that's made up, and things like that. Like kind of like urban legend kind of stuff. I think I remember one about those fish those little tiny like piranha fish that like go up people's urethras. I remember one like that, and it was true. Yeah, I remember that show. What movie scared you most as a kid? There are a few. I remember really being scared of Troll 2 when I watched Troll 2 when I was like 5 years old. I remember, I think my family was on vacation in Florida, and it was playing on the hotel TV, and I was like, oh, I'm so scared by this. But watching it now is a different story. Fire in the Sky traumatized me as a kid. I also watched it, maybe I was 6 years old or so. Just absolutely traumatized me, gave me nightmares. And probably the most when I saw it, maybe 7 or 8 years old, was The Exorcist. Absolutely traumatized. So those three movies scared me the most when I was a kid. Thank you for your questions. Naming this channel was difficult. Collector Man asks, favorite film genre? I like comedies mixed with drama. So dramedy, I guess you can call it. I like a little bit of both. I love comedies, but sometimes you like a little bit of drama. So I like comedy and drama. And of course I love horror too. And action. I love all genres. Any hobbies? Yeah, I mean, other than, going on YouTube, I'm just a collector type of person. I also collect vinyl records. I have a pretty respectable collection of vinyl records. I try to get to all the classic albums, and kind of one of my goals is I have this magazine of Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time. I want to, own them all, and I think I own only about. Well, I think I own like 50 or 60 of them out of the list. So I say that's respectable. So yeah, it's a hobby of mine. No. Freddie, Jason, Michael. Which one is your favorite? Got to give it to Freddie. I love Freddie the best. Freddie's my favorite. He has the personality, and he's a threat. And Robert Englund is fucking amazing. So definitely Freddie. Favorite Tim Burton movie? I would say Beetlejuice is my favorite Tim Burton movie. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. Winona Ryder. Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis. So good. So good. I love it. And, I have some nostalgia for the original Batman and Batman Returns, too. And of more recent movies he's done. Because I know he, gets certain criticisms, for sort of doing the same old thing, blah, blah, blah. I thought Sweeney Todd was a brilliant film. I thought Sweeney Todd was great. The fact that he went for it, man. Hard R, blood splurting. Can you imagine if someone else directed that movie? Not a lot of people praise that movie so much, but I think it deserves a lot of praise. Under different, vision, under a different director's vision, let's say, they probably could have found some way around the horrible violence of the movie and over-the-top violence. Tim Burton fucking goes for it, blood splattering all over the screen. I love it. And we get to hear Alan Rickman's beautiful singing voice, too. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Favorite bands / musical artists? So many. I'm a huge fan of the Rolling Stones. I think they're between the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, those are the two best bands. I love David Bowie, Led Zeppelin, all the classics. I love more contemporary. I like a lot of alt rock. I like REM, one of my favorite bands. I love REM, Michael Stipe. TV on the Radio is a great band. Sleigh Bells is a newer band that I really like. Sky Ferreira, she's great. So many that I can't think of off the top of my head. Eminem I love. So many. Elvis Costello, one of my favorites. Elvis Costello, My Aim Is True, one of my favorite albums of all time. I know there's a million that I'm forgetting. Arcade Fire is pretty good. The Black Keys. Just so many. I know I'm leaving out something so obvious that I really love. MIA I love. I don't know. But I'm sure there's a lot that I'm missing that I really love. But so much. So hopefully that was a few that I named. But yeah, probably favorite band of all time, Rolling Stones. My favorite album from them. That's hard to say. I don't even know what I would say. Well, Exile on Main Street. It really is, fantastic fucking album. So yeah, let's say Exile on Main Street. My favorite album from them. Congratulations on the Big 5. Thank you, Collector Man. Appreciate it, man. Aquinet123. Now, Aquinet123. Good friend of the channel. Good friend of the Twitter, too. You know how you always have one or two friends, on Twitter that you have following you. So it's I got your back, man. I'll favorite this tweet. That's Aquinet. So what do we have here? Yes, random and annoying question time. Warning: really random and annoying questions ahead. Ahem. Favorite pizza? Canadian. So we got your pepperoni, you got your bacon, you got your olives. Canadian. What got you into reviewing? I guess the internet, generally. More specifically, I had a question kind of like this, and I just talked about, I always used to review, and I used to do IMDb reviews, and I thought, I'll do YouTube. I do remember specifically kind of what it was that made me want to specifically go on YouTube, and it was in the summer of 2009. picture it. No, but I remember I was watching all these YouTube videos and I was watching movie reviews and I was trying to find as many reviews of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies as I could, and I finally got through them. I'm like, there's not that many, and I'm like, I could do this. And then finally, in 2010, the remake was coming, and I'm like, I'm really excited for this. Maybe people will want to hear my thoughts on it. I'm gonna shit or get off the pot. I'm gonna do it, and that's what got me into it, and I haven't looked back since. Childhood movie. Um, childhood movie. Probably Aladdin, I guess. Yeah, Aladdin. I fucking love Aladdin. R.I.P. Robin Williams. Favorite chocolate. I don't know. I like kind of like mint chocolate kind of stuff. So I like those, you know, junior mint kind of stuff. I like, or like the After Eights. If it's like just chocolate bar, I'd say I do like Twix because you get two. Buy another chocolate bar, it's the same price. You get one, but Twix you get two. I'm running out of questions already. Shit. Movie you would want to be remade. I would want to see a remake of Pet Sematary. And I think I've said that before because I like a lot of people are happy with the original Pet Sematary the way it is. I'm not. I don't love the movie. And you think like with Stephen King movies and novels, obviously, they've gone back to a lot. They've gone back to The Shining, did the miniseries on it. They went back to Carrie, did the miniseries on that. They went back to Salem's Lot, did a miniseries on two different miniseries on Salem's Lot. So why not go back to Pet Sematary? I think under the right direction, if they got like a talented director who's like can make something really atmospheric, I think you could get a great movie. Yeah, and I don't know who they cast. I think maybe like Morgan Freeman would be good as Judd, the old man. You know, don't go down that road. Yeah, I'd like to see a remake of Pet Sematary. Would you ever consider eating a 54 by 54 inch, I'm assuming inch, pizza? I have already. No need to consider it. Well, there goes my hope at playing 20 questions. I'm done. Thank you, Aquanet. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Emily McDonald writes, did you watch The Strangers yet? LOL. Yes, I actually did, okay? Okay, big Strangers story here. When I was doing, like, the horror movie reviews for 31 Days of Horror, like, I planned to do a lot more, but there's actually there's death in the family, not immediate family, but you know extended family. So there's like a funeral in late October, which you know I took a couple of days off. So I probably would have done at least 10 more reviews than I did in that month. But I had like prepped for it. I remember it was probably after maybe like a week or a couple of days to a week after that comment saying, "Oh, you'd really enjoy The Strangers." I went to this pawn shop near my work. I got a stack of horror movies, at least 10 that I hadn't seen before. And yes, one of them was The Strangers, and I watched The Strangers, and basically what happened during this movie. And I wanted to review it, but I guess I'll talk about it in this video. Maybe go back to it a little bit later. I was getting into it. Like, I liked the beginning of the movie with Liv Tyler, and I forget the guy's name. Luke Evans, I think? I don't know. But I thought it was a good way to tell the story because we're kind of like piecing it together. Like, oh, well, what happened here? Like, they're flashing back to something, and then we find out, you know, that he proposed to her, and she said no, and, you know, they're kind of struggling with their relationship. Then it seems like kind of almost like this sweet thing, but then, boom, it gets interrupted by a fucking horror movie. And the movie turns into, like, basically the whole movie is what you would see, like, the chase scene, the final scene of like one horror movie. This is this whole movie, but the movie got completely ruined for me at one point, and I couldn't take the movie seriously because I'm a fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's like one of my favorite shows, and the guy who plays Dennis on Everybody Loves Raymond, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, he plays the guy's friend in the movie, and there's this whole suspenseful scene where he's like walking through the hallway and like the record is skipping, and spoilers for the strangers, anybody who's watching this, then he gets fucking shot in the face, and I lost it. It was hilarious to me, and I couldn't take the movie seriously after that. So I think maybe that's why they typecast people in certain movies. But seeing Dennis from It's Always Sunny in this horror movie, that was unreal, man. So yes, I did watch it, to answer your question. How did you decide to start doing movie reviews on YouTube? Oh yeah, basically what I said in the other one. I just kind of thought, Nightmare on Elm Street remake's coming out. I want to do this, and with that, I mean, at the time that I wanted to do it, I didn't have a webcam, so I thought I would just take clips and put my voice over it and do the review that way, which I did anyway. But when I finally did the review, I did have a webcam, which was a horrible webcam looking back on it now, but whatever. So that it was mainly the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and mainly the fact that I just would always review movies and stuff like that. I wanted to do something because like around that time, I guess it was 2009, because in 2008, I don't think I was online that much. I think I broke my computer or something like that. Oh yeah, never mind. No, whatever. I got really drunk and I fell on my computer and it broke. Anyway, yeah, and I was watching these Nostalgia Critic videos, and of course anybody who reviews movies knows who the Nostalgia Critic was, and I kind of thought, well, there should be reviews like what he does for the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and that's what I was trying to seek out, but I couldn't find any, and I knew I couldn't do one like that myself, so I just kind of did it in my own way, where basically my thought behind it was, I'll do this as if it's like a commentary track, so that was it. Can't believe I told that story about getting drunk and falling on my computer. Anyway, thank you for your questions, Emily McDonald. Better Than You asks, do your close friends / family members watch / are aware of your YouTube channel? Do they share the same love for movies as you do? I have a few select people that know, but not really that many, but people like I kind of trust. But yeah, I have a few friends that I would say are fairly into movies that I'd like to tell one day. I'd say it's just this weird. It seems like this is my own little world, and I don't want to bring it into my real life, at least not yet. Kind of feel like I'm closeted YouTuber. I think if I hit let's say if I hit 10,000 subscribers, I'll fucking tell everybody. So yeah, that's my answer. Nick Nigerian writes, and Nick Nigerian, good friend of the channel, always leave me a nice comment. Thank you for sticking with me. He's been a subscriber forever. What is the best Quentin Tarantino movie, and how old were you when you first saw it? The best Quentin Tarantino movie is Pulp Fiction. That is indisputable. Though I love Django Unchained, and I love Inglourious Basterds, and I love Reservoir. I love all his movies. His movies are fucking great. But Pulp Fiction, I mean, it's the most iconic. It's the most influential. It is his best movie, and who knows if he'll ever top it. Hateful Eight looks good. Enthusiasm there. But yeah, Pulp Fiction, and I think I was 13 when I first saw it. Because I actually do remember very specifically, because I talked in the previous video about what made you a film buff, and it was renting the movies, trying to catch up with classics. And I remember the same time I rented Pulp Fiction was the same time I rented The Graduate, and watching The Graduate and Pulp Fiction in the same day, that was mind-blowing. Those are two great movies. So yeah, I was 13 when I first saw it. Thank you, Nick. Stephen Jones writes, would you rather know how you die or when you die? It's an interesting question and kind of a morbid one, but I like it. I like your style, man. I would rather know how I die. Because, I mean, let's face it, if have a certain lifestyle, go to the doctor enough, you know how you're gonna die. It's like stop eating hamburgers, you're gonna get a heart attack. Like we just kind of ignore it. So I think most people, outside of say freak accidents or something say unnatural, most people know kind of what lies ahead. So I'd rather know how. If like someone said to me today, "Hey, I'm a psychic. I'm not gonna tell you when, but you're gonna die of a heart attack," I'm like, well, that makes sense. I would hate to know when, because like you're always going to count down to it, and like I think one of the great blessings of life itself is not knowing when it's going to end. 47 cartoon guy writes, have any favorite cartoons? I have a few. I mean, I like The Simpsons. Obviously, that's kind of the mainstay. South Park, really good. I like that. I really like, the Venture Brothers, C Lab 2021. That is a great show. I love C Lab 2021. It's so funny and fucked up and weird. So yeah, I like shows like that, and I don't know. I can't really think. Duckman. That's a great show. With Jason Alexander, and probably one of my favorite cartoons from the creators. Well, some of the creators, the critic. If I can recommend a show to anybody, if you like my channel, if you like movies, if you like movie reviews, The Critic is like the perfect show. It's brilliant. John Lovitz is so great, and Franklin on the show is so funny. So yeah, those are some of my favorite cartoons. Sam Baker writes, what is another one of your hobbies outside of movies? Do you like sports? I cover sports, unfortunately not too big into sports. Another hobby outside of movies would be the record collecting. That's definitely something. I bought a record today, so I try to keep an eye out for that, and I'm always kind of looking through. There's this place near my work that sells records for $1, and I guess like some come in all the time. I guess like maybe like some old guy dies and his family brings in the records or whatever. They have records for $1. Sometimes I can find some true diamonds in the rough. I found so many great records for $1, and I don't really care that they're beat up or whatever. Like they play more often than not. They play fine, except for one. I remember one I got, Van Halen by Van Halen. I got. I opened it up and there's a big crack in the record. And an Ozzy Osbourne record I got had a spider in it that crawled out and scared me. So yes, some hobbies. Thank you, Sam. Tanasai97 writes, what are your top 5 favorite films of all time? It's so hard to number them. I hate having to number them, but I'd say, a fair top 5. One I forgot to mention, Nightmare on Elm Street, one of my all-time favorite movies. The Shining, of course. Alien and Aliens, kind of tied, I guess. The Dark Knight, Wonder Boys. Is that 5? Yeah, 5. Okay. No particular order. Apocalypse Now is 6. No, I don't know. I don't know the number. It would always change, but those are pretty, let's say, solid 5. Bortobimi writes, you only get 3 movies to watch for the rest of your life. What are they? Like if we're talking like Desert Island kind of thing, or just like you're only allowed to, I don't know. But, I try to have some variety. Star Wars, gotta have the original Star Wars. I'd say probably The Godfather too. And Mrs. Doubtfire. Or no, Uncle Buck. Either Mrs. Doubtfire or Uncle Buck. I don't know which one. Let's say Uncle Buck, because I can watch Uncle Buck I'll watch Uncle Buck right now. It's the fucking best movie. Devin Ferrasi sucks. Do you agree or disagree? I agree. I think he does suck. I think he's a mediocre writer at best. No business directing, and I think, he was fired from Star Trek 3 for good reason. Any Oscar predictions? Yes, here's my prediction right now. And you have a question coming up that's, we'll explain that. I think The Force Awakens is going to get a Best Picture nomination. That's what I fucking think, so, chill out. Also, I think, in a large part, I think Steve Jobs is going to get ignored, but I think Michael Fassbender is going to get a nomination for it. That's the only thing I think will happen with that. And I think The Hateful Eight will get a Best Picture nomination because if it's Quentin Tarantino, it will get an Oscar nomination. You know what? I'm going to predict right now The Hateful Eight is going to win Best Picture. And I base that on nothing. The Revenant obviously is going to get some Oscar love. If there's one thing, okay, I talked about Star Wars, and I was kind of half joking, but I think it might. If I can guarantee one thing about the Academy Awards, I think Inside Out is going to get a nomination for Best Animated Feature, and I think Star Wars: The Force Awakens is going to get a nomination for Best Makeup. Yeah. Best and worst things about being on YouTube. I think one of the best things is that, my opinion's out there. And let's say this is even just 20 years ago. Let's say this is 20 years ago. I'm the same age I am now, but it's 20 years ago. I'd just be some weird guy who really likes movies. Now I feel, sort of justification in it. I feel like I've reached some people, shared my opinion with the entire world, which is amazing. I just like getting my opinion out there and that there's people who will listen. One of the worst things I'd say, every so often you'll get, people who say something mean and hurts your feelings, and I don't know. You try to ignore that, but it'll happen. If you are, stupid enough to go in front of the camera and go on YouTube, it's gonna happen. It will. And I got in an argument with some guy 2 weeks ago, and it was just... it escalated quickly, and it was just so wrong. I felt so stupid after. So that's the important thing. They always say, ignore the trolls. Don't feed the trolls. Sometimes it's like, fuck. Anyway. Do you agree with Spielberg and Lucas about the future of movies? And a link is posted below. He put a link here. Basically what they talk about in the article, and I'll try to post it too for some context. They talk about an implosion of movies as they kind of are reaching a point where the way people go to movies is going to be a little bit different, and studios aren't going to take as big of chances on certain movies. Like Spielberg talks about, Lincoln was this close to being an HBO original movie, and George Lucas was like, nobody went to see Red Tails. Spielberg is like, that's right, George. They should have went to see that great movie. Red Tails. Who gives a shit about Red Tails? I'm of two minds about it. Part of me does agree with it. And, speaking of the Oscars and stuff, I think in our lifetime, we may have to anticipate, the first direct-to-Netflix movie winning some Academy Awards. Like they do with, the Emmys. Look at, some of the TV shows, Orange is the New Black, House of Cards. Those are Netflix shows, direct-to-Netflix, that are, winning Emmys and stuff like that. But I think the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is a little bit more stringent on that, and they want to preserve the movie-going experience. It's kind of ironic, though, that, the two guys who pretty much shaped the blockbuster and franchises, things like that, George Lucas, the Star Wars empire, Steven Spielberg, Mr. Jaws, they're the ones now who refine the blockbusters. They're now critical of it. So I think it's a little ironic. The article is from 2 years ago, I think, but isn't it ironic, don't you think? A little too ironic. Yeah, I really do think. So part of me thinks we're in the midst of it, man. Speaking of Spielberg, I mean, the Bridge of Spies movie, did that even come out? I don't even know. Steven Spielberg, legendary director, even non-film buffs know who fucking Steven Spielberg is. Tom Hanks, America's Sweetheart, the movie opens and closes in a week, so that's, I don't know, it's weird. So, I don't know, it's... movies, they're definitely more franchise oriented. So when he brings up something like E.T., where that was in theaters for a year and change, and that was the movie that everyone was going to, I mean, definitely at that time home video wasn't what it was. Now home video is thriving, and a lot of people kind of prefer to stay at home, watch Netflix. It's $8 a month instead of spending $50 to bring the family to a movie, and do the IMAX 3D $10 small bag of popcorn thing. So I mean, that's definitely something that's a valid point. And now movies are it's all about the lead up to the movie as opposed to kind of basking in the movie itself, where I don't think we'll see anything quite like the phenomenon that was E.T. Though, like Frozen, like I mean, I don't think it's the greatest movie of all time, but that was kind of like a phenomenon of itself. That stayed in theaters a suspiciously long, well, I won't say suspicious, let's say just a unusually long time. Like that was kind of the movie that everyone was going to see. So that stayed in theaters for quite a few months, which was not the usual until it did finally come to home video and things like that. So I mean, I think we'll still see stuff sort of like that. But definitely with more franchise-oriented kind of things. It's all about, I can't wait for this movie. Then you see the movie. I can't wait for the next one. And it's kind of this vicious cycle where we just can't be satisfied with what we have. I guess that's human nature. When it comes to the smaller movies, you always know, like, the adage of, these idealistic producers and directors saying, oh, well, we make these big-budget movies, and they make their big money, and we get the money, and the money's great, but we put that towards making these smaller movies, which is fine, too. I mean, there's always going to be room for that. And I do think movies are still being kind of daring and inventive. Like something like Birdman winning Best Picture, I think that's cool. It's like this... It is a movie that's critical of Hollywood itself, so that's kind of an interesting thing too. But we get these inventive movies, smaller movies. But meanwhile, Birdman, I mean, that wasn't the phenomenon that it was. And like if you look at top 10 highest grossing movies of any given year compared to 20 years ago, something's a little different. There are all these big franchise movies. But then you see something like, even though I didn't think it was the best movie ever, American Sniper, which wasn't a franchise, wasn't a big special effects extravaganza. I think that was the highest grossing movie of last year, which kind of brings me a little bit of hope for, character-driven types of movies. I just would have preferred it to be a better movie. Something like Lincoln, which is a high-budget historical epic. It's character-driven, dialogue-driven. So maybe we are seeing less of those types of movies, and they're not putting the budget into those types of movies, which we're seeing small movies get smaller, and not these big movies that aren't events, basically. So I think the small movies will always stay because they'll always put money into them. And, going to a movie, it's still like a social thing. It's like, a couple goes out to dinner, they see a movie. Maybe they don't want to see, Hunger Games. Maybe they want to see something a little bit more mature. So I think the art houses will probably thrive if they're, well run. I have an art house in my town that plays the smaller movies. It's a smaller screen, but it's less expensive than, the big IMAX movies. So I could literally go see, if I catch it within the one fucking week that it's open, Bridge of Spies, pay $20 to see it on a big screen in a chain theater, or I can, wait a week until the art house gets the rights to it, and I pay like $8 or whatever. So, I mean, I think there's always going to be room for that, and also like you think about comedies too. Like comedies aren't that expensive to make, and if you look at it like percentage wise, I'd say most of the comedies, even if they don't even break $100 million, they're making technically more profit than like the huge big budget movies would. So I don't know, I'm of two minds about it. I think we're definitely experiencing sort of a deterioration in the quality of the big productions, but the smaller productions are getting better, I would say, more risky. I think in a lot of ways it's something like Foxcatcher, which I thought was brilliant. That had the feel and pace of a movie like from the 70s, which you don't see too often. And that was a high-profile movie, was nominated for some Oscars, had big stars. So, I don't know. To answer your question, I don't fucking know. So thanks, Bortib. Oh, wait, there's one more question. Yeah, here's your last question here, Bortibim. The Force Awakens. Too much hype, question mark. No, not enough hype in my opinion. It's a new Star Wars movie. It's not a prequel. It's a continuation. Star Wars, most beloved movie of all time. Original cast returning. New story. George Lucas is gone. Goodbye. No, not enough hype. I honestly think, newscast, CNN, they should just take a break from showing the world is a horrible place, full of despair and awful things happening every fucking second. I think these news stations, they should take a break from whatever horrible fear mongering story that they're playing. Be like, by the way, Force Awakens is a month away, and we're very excited about it. Here's some guy in a Darth Maul costume reporting on it. I really think that. Not enough hype. I mean, I can kind of see if someone would see it's too much hype, because pretty much everyone has already decided this is way better than the prequels. I love it. It's my favorite movie of all time. Hasn't even come out yet, but I think it's hyped just the right amount, if not, not enough. So, Force Awakens, it's gonna win Best Picture. No, I don't know. Thank you, Borutabim. Oh, we have some breaking news, some breaking channel news here. Some subscribers have left some comments that they went back to that Halloween series review where I have the stupid hat and the stupid goatee, and despite my pleas not to, they said it looks okay. Nevertheless, I stand by those comments. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I missed a question from Naming This Channel Was Difficult that I thought was a pretty good question. Have you ever experienced anything strange slash supernatural? Yes, I have. And it's something that I didn't know what it was or if other people experienced it until recently. And turns out a lot of people do. Sleep paralysis is something that I get every now and then. It's kind of afflicted me since like childhood. And it's a really terrifying thing, like you feel like something's pushing down on you and you see this like shape, this terrifying shape, and you're like trying to scream out for help and you can't. It's so terrifying. I get that every now and again, and apparently that's what it's called, sleep paralysis. Whether it's supernatural or not is, I guess, up for a debate. I know they recently made a documentary on it called The Nightmare, which I'm too afraid to watch. I don't want to watch it, or maybe I will. If you've seen that, let me know if I should check it out. Joss Future Filmmaker 39480 Drake writes, I'm doing a Q&A video, and if you have questions, feel free to drop some down below. And anyways, great channel and a great video. What is your favorite Batman film of all time? You got a deal, Josh. Favorite Batman film, The Dark Knight. Just the definitive Batman film for me. Christian Bale is probably my favorite Batman, though I love Michael Keaton, even with the voice. Even with the gruff voice. You belong in a padded cell forever. Where's the trigger? You want to do it to an honor citizen. I think he's brilliant as Bruce Wayne and Batman, so I think he's great. Heath Ledger, I mean, you can't say enough great about his role as the Joker, so the definitive Batman film for me, The Dark Knight, just a masterpiece. One of my favorite films. Lennox Mate has come back for seconds. He's come back for more. He asked this question, very interesting question. If you were stranded on a desert island with a DVD player and could only take 5 movies / box sets with you to play for the rest of your life, what would you choose and why? So it's a similar question that Bortabam asked, only this is a very specific scenario. It's the desert island scenario, and the box set aspect of it intrigues me. I think that helps cheat a little bit. One, I'd definitely bring my Stanley Kubrick box set. Has from Spartacus to Eyes Wide Shut, all his films. I think I would choose those just because they're an example of great films, and of course includes The Shining, one of my favorite movies. Has a good cheat answer to that. I suppose instead of just the first Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy I'd take with me. Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and instead of just the Godfather trilogy, and I guess I would bring both Uncle Buck and Mrs. Doubtfire, just because they're feel-good movies, and I'd like to have feel-good movies. Star Wars films, needless to say, just because they're the 3 of the greatest films of all time, and same with Godfather trilogy, except for maybe Part 3, which I know it gets a lot of flack, but I think it's a fine movie. So hopefully that answers the question. I mean, it's tough, but I think I think the Kubrick set is a good cheat. Also, I know you get loads of requests, but when will you listen to me and review The French Connection 2, The Ninth Configuration, and Night of the Comet? I'm sure you'll like them all. I'm sure I'll like them all too, and that's what kills me about this. Well, I'm not sure if I'll like French Connection 2. I'm a little wary of that. And I know, like, I've been listening since day one, man. It's locked in the vault. But if you've like, if anyone watching this has kind of figured out anything yet about me, so I'm not like the most organized and on the ball person. So I'll get to it eventually. I swear. I promise you. I would definitely say, French Connection 2 is an easy fix because it's on Netflix. At least the last time I checked. So if I do review any of them, it'll probably be that first. With Night in the Comic Ninth Configuration, I really want to get those Scream Factory sets, and they're always a little bit priced, so I want to wait for the right moment, see if I can get a good deal. I like to get a good deal, and I know Scream Factory actually had a sale recently, and I actually did. I had them both in my cart. I swear to fucking God. But then I think the shipping to Canada kind of screwed me over a little bit, so it wouldn't have ended up being a good savings at all. It would have been like the regular price if you counted in the shipping. So I'm on the lookout for them, see if I can get a good deal on them. So don't give up hope just yet, Linux mate. I promise I'll review them eventually. And your final question: what was the first movie you watched at the cinema? Who with, and how old were you? My first was with my dad, and I was 4, and he took me to watch Flash Gordon, and I played up all the movie. Too early. The following year, he took me to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I was hooked on the cinema. That's a great, aside from like Flash Gordon, which, maybe you weren't paying attention because you're 4, but Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's got to be like the best, introductory movie to watch at the cinema. I wish I had a story like that. I do actually remember the first movies that I saw at a cinema in the theater. It was a drive-in, and they were playing both Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, the Kevin Costner Robin Hood, and What About Bob? I was 4 too when that came out. When those came out, I guess. And I remember I did fall asleep during Robin Hood, but I woke up around What About Bob, and I guess maybe that's what started my fixation with Bill Murray, at least. I don't really hold Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in that much high of a regard, but it's an okay movie. But that was my first cinema going experience, which I think is pretty good. Not Raiders of the Lost Ark level for sure, but I have fond memories of seeing those movies. Death Samurai writes, favorite porn movie of all time. Party at Kitty and Studs. Sylvester Stallone. Cradle the balls, worth the shaft, yo. No, he doesn't say that in the movie. No, I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. I'd like to see it, and it's still my favorite, regardless. Favorite YouTube reviewer of all time. I'd say favorite reviewer. Well, I mean, hi, this is Derek237. If I'm not in my own corner, who's gonna be, right? Well, no, I mean, I'd say review. Even though I'm like not a huge gamer, I really love Boogie 2988. What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie 2988 coming at you live through the power of the internet. I think he's cool. I like him. Very funny, very smart. He does movie reviews too. He'll do game reviews, product reviews. He'll touch on social controversies, things like that. And he's a very candid person. He'll, let his subscribers into his life, which I think is a really nice thing to do. And he seems like a very genuine guy. So if I try to follow an example of any type of personality, I'd say it'd actually be him. Though I don't have like a Francis character like him. Hi guys, I'm mad about this movie again. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I'll get more subscribers. I don't know. Nick Nigerian, he's come back for more. You just couldn't get enough. You got to come back for a little more, huh? Because of what you said before, will you review Tenacious D in The Pick of Destiny? It's an amazing, terrible movie. It's supposed to be bad, so keep that in mind, but it's just so much fun. I haven't seen it, actually, which is surprising, because I like Jack Black. I'm not really a Tenacious D fan, but I think I would be if I actually, listened to their stuff. I know there's apparently one scene in the movie where they like guitar battle against the devil or something like that. So I'd like to check it out, and yeah, I'd like to do a review of it. Zeppo M writes, speaking of silent films, have you thought of reviewing any? I've recently been watching Buster Keaton for the first time, and Sherlock Jr. is a masterpiece. Buster Keaton, oh yeah, man, he's like he was. I think he was like pretty much the first, America's sweetheart kind of movie star, even before Charlie Chaplin was. At least I think. I don't know. I haven't. Well, actually, I have. I have thought about reviewing Silent. I was this close this year to reviewing Nosferatu, the original Nosferatu, because again, I mentioned in a previous video, but I kind of didn't do as many reviews as I was originally planning to. I was actually planning on doing a review of both Nosferatu and Shadow of the Vampire, so maybe I'll do that some other time. But that's pretty much the only silent film I thought about just outright reviewing. And finally, we have one more. We made it. We made it to the end. Kyler Gilbride writes, "Hey Derek, congrats on 5 years. I have only 3 questions for you. Number 1, what is your favorite review you have done?" That's a good question. I don't know. I don't like to pick favorites out of my babies. But like one review, I think that is like the gift that keeps on giving. Alien 3 review. One, it has a lot of views, which I'm very gratified by. I feel very happy about. 2, it's I feel like even though it's not I look back on that review, audio's terrible and it's a lower quality. It's one of my earlier reviews, but I feel like I got some good points across and kind of gave a movie that I feel is a little bit overlooked and underrated. Its day in court, and I kind of expressed the good and bad of it. I thought it was a fair and good review. And 3, what I really like about it, more than any of my other reviews, there's so much like debate in the comments. To this day, I'll still see people like kind of like arguing in the comments, which I love. Alien 3 sucks. Oh no, it doesn't. No, it's a great movie. Blah, blah, blah. I love that. I love that. Something I put up in the YouTube sphere has sparked kind of debate. I really like that. So I would say it's among my favorites. Number 2, what do you think is the best review you have done? That's a hard answer to question. Switch that. I have a lot that I like. I'm very proud of my 30 Years of Freddy reviews. It was something that I got into YouTube first by reviewing the Nightmare on Elm Street series. After all the copyright shit, had to kind of re-upload it with just still pictures, and it kind of sucked, and I wasn't happy about it. So I thought I'm going to go back and I'm going to give really thorough reviews and celebrate the 30th anniversary of the first film. And I thought I, expressed a lot of what was still lingering and what I still wanted to say about them. Particularly, I think, I am quite proud of my review of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, and I think I really expressed kind of what that movie meant to me, why I found it so good. So I'm very happy with that review and the entire series as a whole. Also, I think my Psycho remake review is pretty good because one thing I'll do, like whenever I do a review and upload it, I'll like immediately search other reviews for the movie, and I see a lot of, and sometimes it's really weird, like I'll see like, wow, my thoughts on this movie are exactly the same as everyone else, but other times, like I'll see, well, at least I said something a little bit different. In terms of the Psycho remake, all the reviews I've seen of it were just like so blindly hateful, which didn't really give too much insight towards the actual movie, the intent behind the movie, because it's a weird thing. It's a weird movie to review because it is like basically a shot-for-shot remake with same dialogue, same shots, and as the original Psycho. So I thought I'd do like the angel and the devil on my shoulder, kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit, like, well, this is the intention behind the movie, and here's why it's a noble effort, but here's why it failed. So I'm proud of that review. And another review that I just like to watch, I'll watch my own reviews and I'll kind of like, it's so weird. I'm like, who's this guy? Who's this weird doofus talking? was the Alien versus Predator review I did 2 years ago, uh, where I'm just like literally losing my mind in that review, which is so funny. Because I like start out the review, I'm saying, well, I don't like to be overly negative, and I hate seeing those over the top people who always feel so entitled about a certain franchise, acting so over the top and hateful of the movie and it driving them crazy. Meanwhile, I proceed to be over the top and act like I'm so entitled to the franchise and lose my mind doing a Scottish voice for some reason, a 5-year-old voice for some reason, Gary Busey impression for some reason. So that is fascinating to watch. What the fuck was going? I don't know if I like dropped acid before that review or what, or if I hadn't slept in 10 days. I don't know, but that amuses me to no end. And none of that was really on purpose. Like I'd love to say that, oh, I was just being, clever and being ironic. No, I just literally fucking lost my mind doing that review. So yeah, I think those are some of my favorites. So check those reviews out. Number 3. Have you ever thought of putting your old reviews with clips on a site like Dailymotion? I have. Some people have brought that up to me, because I'll complain to anybody who listens about the copyright stuff on YouTube. But I don't know. Part of me just kind of wants to try to play by YouTube's rules as opposed to do it exactly the way I want. I think I do have my website, dare237.com, so visit dare237.com. Technically, I could upload literally my own hosted video and have it done that way, which maybe I should, but I don't know. So to answer your question, I don't know. So that's the final question. So finally, Kyler writes, and again, congrats on 5 years. Let's hope for 5 more. Yes, let's hope for 5 more. Thank you so much, everybody, for your questions. Oh, wait, there's one more question. Grandma writes, Derek, you're such a handsome young man. How do I tweet this? Well, Grandma, you have to go to Twitter and share this video. No, never mind. Thanks for watching, everyone. I had a lot of fun doing this. I hope you enjoyed watching this, because I know, it's occurring to me at the end of this all that Q&As are so fucking self-indulgent, so I don't know why. Well, I mean, I hope, anybody watching this liked it, but it is, masturbatory. But no, they're really good questions, and I enjoyed answering them and rambling on. Rambling is apparently what I do best. So, I mean, if we combine these all together, this is over 40 minutes now, this video alone. So I think we have a good solid hour and change of me just rambling on and on and on and on about your questions. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing to me, watching me. It means the world to me. It really does. And yes, let's hope for another 5 years. Maybe I'll do this again in 5 years. If you made it to the end, let me just share a little thing with you about what's coming next. What's coming next is I'm going to be doing a top 10 video. Now I've noticed this. I'm just not a president of YouTube. I am a member. No, Hair Club for Men. But I obsessively watch YouTube videos, and I've noticed what a lot of the recommendations come up is top 10 da 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 da, and they're so addictive, and I keep on watching them. So I'd like to make a review or a video like that, like a top 10, kind of try to make it more of a mainstream kind of type of video if that's possible. So I'm working on that right now, and I'm editing that right now. So that'll be up in a couple of days. So stay tuned for that. I think that should be interesting. And I won't tell you what the topic is, but it's something that I tried at least, something that hasn't been done too many times, and where I can still do an opinion instead of just general, just filler or anything like that. So it's something I put a lot of work into. So, and I'm trying to put in clips to it in the best possible way, but trying to avoid copyright bot detection. So hopefully that works out. So if you see it uploaded in the next couple of days, it worked. If you don't, it probably got blocked, and I'm probably crying in a corner somewhere. So 5 years on YouTube. It's been a ride, man. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. It really means a lot to me that people out there, they seem to like my reviews, and they seem to think I'm worth asking a question to. So thanks so much for watching. Be sure, if you haven't already, comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, I'll see you later.